This video is brought to you by AG1 by Athletic Greens. The quest for equal length headers and a better sounding LS engine has begun, or continues, because I've been working on these already, but I kind of don't film every single thing I'm doing because you have to do a lot. If you ever built headers before, it is a pain in the butt. You cut a tube, 4 or 5 different times, and you gotta move this till it fits. You need 6 hands to do everything. I'll show you where I got started here. I have cut out every single pipe of the original flange and ground them out so I can reuse that flange from the original headers. And I have the #1 cylinder tacked up to be the straightest, shortest possible length to the collector, which is affixed to the tri-Y section and the McClure X pipe underneath. These darker pieces are cut up pieces from the original header that I chopped apart, and the newer stuff down there is 2-inch that I had laying around from Wolf Aircraft, and it's made out of a couple different sections because none of the bends I have long legs on them. I kind of have to piece stuff together. All I have are just these U-bends like this. I didn't buy anything to be able to do this, partly because I just wanted to show that you could do it yourself. If you have the guts to cut up your old set of headers, you can repurpose it. You don't got to buy a $1,500 header kit if you don't want to. Could have. It would have been easier to start from scratch. This isn't the purpose of this, and I didn't want to wait. I mean, what would I do with those headers anyway after I made new ones? Nothing. Sell them. They're not worth really that much. So whatever, we'll repurpose them. And now they'll be stepped, just like these Dodge headers are. I don't know if that's going to change the sound. I've been figuring out how to use the Furic Markout Pro that Michael let us borrow. Super awesome dude. This is like really neat. You can kind of use it to get a reference on what the angles are. So if you're under there and you got something that doesn't quite fit and you need a little bit more of a gap, you can say, okay, if it's 50 degrees, I'm gonna try 55 and see if that works. And then you at least know what you're messing with instead of just eyeballing it. It kind of helps you figure things out quicker. I'm getting the hang of using this. I've never used one before. I did the Escalade all freehand and Shane's headers all freehand. I've never had any type of tools like that to use. Now I'm gonna pull this out and measure the length so I know what I'm shooting for with the other ones, and I'm gonna put it on a piece of wire, like just like electrical wire, and then I'll kind of use that to sort of rough up the general path that I need to take with the next one. That way I kind of have some idea of where space needs to be occupied to get that length. Really, this is about to be the hardest part, is making every other tube fit and be the same as the first one, when I really don't have that much room to work with under there anyway. Well, let's pull this out of here and measure it up. It looks pretty janky because it's like different pieces. I had to, basically to make this fit upright, I had to tack a piece to here to get the right step up spot so it was oriented correctly, because when you're laying under the car, you can't hold this piece in the flange and hold this perfectly to mark it. So I just changed the size and then worked from here. And this is the very end of the U-bend. You can see it's got that line on there where it was like roll cut, whatever. And I had to use this little filler piece in there. It's kind of whack, but the sound doesn't know the difference. And then it steps up again to go into the collector. So yeah, it's pretty long. My margin for error, as long as the longest and the shortest are within 5 inches, I'll be okay. But as a precaution, I'm gonna shoot for within the same inch. And then if I have to, bend over backwards and set the world on fire to have it be an inch, but it's within 5, like less than 5, we'll call it okay, because that's what most of the cup headers are at, acceptability wise. Mike Furic said, don't break your back for an inch, because if theirs are within 5 inches, it doesn't make a difference. Because if it made a difference, they would make them all exactly the same. So I'm gonna do the best I can and roll with it. We'll see what happens. I've never made equal length headers before, only turbo headers. I've never made full length headers before, let alone equal length. So this is a fabrication challenge for me. And on top of that, I'm repurposing basically old garbage. So we're really doing it this time. For those of you who are new to this channel, either through the history stuff or the exhaust testing, I'm not a noob. It's not like I just never picked up a welder before. I did all this by myself years ago when I was like 22. I made these headers, this whole turbo system I custom fabbed, and these are actually the first set of headers I ever made. That primary right there was the first tube I ever cut. Obviously these aren't equal length or anything, but they get the exhaust into the turbos, so that's really the only point of a turbo system. I just spent probably 2.5 hours making notes and graphs and stuff to try to better understand the firing order and the orientation of the pipes, so that, because these collectors are removable, I wanted to know what it would be doing if, let's say we use this one for example, if we got the header straight up like this and it's in the car, if we took these secondary collectors off and turned them so that instead of these two being paired, these two were paired and the bottom ones were paired, and change that around that way, what is it going to do then? Well, figured that out after a lot of work and kind of what seemed like writing down the same thing a bunch of different ways. I finally made some sense of it by breaking it down by the rotation, like assigning a rotation number of degrees to each cylinder in the firing order. I also wrote down the driver's side one, the primary, ended up being 27 3/4 inch long, so that's what I'm gonna work with. All kinds of crap going on here. If you're still with me here, leave a comment and tell me I'm not crazy, or tell me I am. I'd like to know. I don't know what I'm doing, but I feel like I'm figuring something out here. That way I can put this on put it in the flange and then get under the car and kind of like see where the rest of it needs to go. Now is the incredibly fascinating process of tacking the pipe, which is currently taped together. I cut a little slice out, that way I can tack it myself. Cut a little slice out, peel some back, press it together if it's gained any kind of gap over the course of moving it around, which apparently this one did, because I had to kind of redo it with more tape. And then I'll tack it and, you know, stick the tungsten to it, which is not what you're supposed to do, but sometimes that happens. Flip it over, cut a little slice out, push the gap in, tack it, and then it's, you know, that joint is good. And then you do that for all of them. This is how I've figured out how to do this, so I don't have to have somebody hold it together for me, and it still keeps its orientation without having any kind of gap. So here's what we got going on under here. You know, when we're in here working in the shop, it's hard for me to remember sometimes to eat what I'm supposed to eat. AG1 by Athletic Greens is an athletic drink that's helped me simplify getting what I need throughout the day. It has 75 different ingredients, including vitamins, minerals, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. I don't eat anything green, ever. I don't eat enough vegetables, I won't eat salad. But I found when I keep up with this stuff, I sleep better and I generally have more energy throughout the day without depending on, you know, caffeine and whatnot. It's kind of like putting 87 into a car that you can run 93 on. It's just not going to be as good no matter what you do. You can't band-aid that with energy drinks. It's extremely convenient too. One scoop or one travel packet like this, 8 ounces of water once a day, that's it. It's pretty good. Go to athleticgreens.com/Stapleton42 to get started on your order. Athletic Greens is going to give our community a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packets with your first purchase. Haven't said a whole lot because I'm in the zone, but kind of got, you know, we got the 1 done, 3 is not done, 5 just getting it tacked up now. Kind of going around through there. 7 is done. See, that one goes kind of straight down takes this long wicko through here, and this one measures out to be like an inch longer than number 1 here. But what I will do at the very end is, if this ends up being the shortest one, I can make it longer. I'll add a little bit of a bend to it, because that one I took the straightest, shortest shot to the collector. Now number 5 is all marked up, so I'm going to take that out and measure it and see where it lands in relation to the other 2. See if it's okay or if I need to change it. Kind of learning as I go here, but I found that I was able to get number 7 close by taping a wire in the length of, like, measuring the center of the radius, running it down the number 1 primary. I taped it the same way to 7 and let it hang off the end where it wasn't done yet. Then I can kind of see, just sort of play with it a little bit, say, okay, if I make the pipe go down and then this way, it's going to be pretty close. At least that gets me close. And it got me within an 1.25 inches on that one and this one, so kind of did this one the same way. Let's pull it out, see how it goes. See, I got it marked there. I'm gonna take this tape off of here. I had to tape that like that because when I was doing this, it kept wanting to fold over. Then I'm gonna tape this real quick so it doesn't move. Not the ideal way to tape it. When it slips into the other ones on the straight pieces, it just kind of fits in there and doesn't move. But this one is a little bit different because it's a curve. So let's get it out of here, if we can. I don't know. Might have to pop this one out. Oh boy. Great. Hopefully I didn't mess up the tape. Alright. Here we go. Alright, now let's measure this thing. I have been measuring how long the run of 1 7/8 is before it goes to 2 inch. So it makes the switch at the same point on each one. This one, I was able to kind of file the edge or sand the edge of this one, the little tube, a little bit, and beat this little sleeve onto there. Where the other ones I had to tack it because I didn't know I could do that. But so the actual transition point is closer to here because it slid over. So just measured this one. And what I do is, I forgot to film it, I'll show you on a different one, but you know, take tape measure, go around the outside, and I have it marked here, goes around. So I can stop there and then restart measuring here, so that'll take me on the outside of this bend to there, where I'll stop and then continue measuring from here to there, turn here to there. That is how the fabricator from Morgan-McClure told me he did it. So when I measured it that way, number 5 came out to 29 3/4. It's the same, I did it. Now this one's too long, but I can make that shorter if I have to. We will see where number 3 lands. Right now, got these all measured out, every single one of them. This one can kind of, you know, you can play with it a little bit depending how you want to shove it. So I have, you know, measured both. But for lack of a better explanation, I just, it can move anywhere between 32 1/4 to 31 3/4. So I just put it at 31 on here, just to mark it out real quick. So there's where we got number 5, it's way down here, 29 1/4, and 1, 3, and 7 are all within an inch. So these ones, I'm okay with these being within an inch. Number 5's kind of the outlier, so it would be easy to put it all back in there, bust it apart, and add a little bit of length to it somewhere, somehow, and then everything will be within that 1 inch. If the spread from the other 3 was not that close, if they were farther apart and there wasn't like one outlier, then I'd probably leave it the way it was, because like Michael said, Cup car headers so sometimes have a difference of up to 5 inches, so don't worry about it. But when they're that close, it would bother me knowing that I could have had it that much closer. And it won't really be that hard. So what I'm thinking I can do is get it all back in there, and maybe I'll break this tack and add a little bit of angle outward to it. Break this one out too, because this is kind of slip fitted in there. I can get a little bit of distance out of here, and it won't take much. It won't take much to add half an inch, you know, out here, half an inch out there to get it, because if you add a half inch here, it adds a half inch over here whenever you make that into a bend. So that should push it right up into these, I think. Like I said before, this is my first foray into building anything equal length like this, but from the mechanics that I've seen so far, I'm pretty sure that's gonna work. So redid this with a longer piece in here, and we got it up to 30.5. So we gained a little over an inch from the old way. Now all 4 tubes are within 1.5 inches of the same exact thing. We'll take that and run. Now I gotta figure out how tacked up I want to get these before starting the other side. I'm cutting the other one up, because right now the other side is holding the exhaust there, so I have a reference point of where the collector needs to be. Well, I have been at this for several days now. It may even be over a full week since the last time I filmed a clip, but just been grinding away. I've got the passenger side pretty much done now. Let's slip down a little bit. Get them all as equal as could possibly be equalness. Originally had the number 8 primary was done, but the way I had it snaking through here and then it kind of curved back out, and I had to like do some weird stuff to get to there. It ended up being 2 inches longer. It ended up being 32 inches, where everything else is hovering around 30. And it was done. I could have finish welded it. And I'm like, you know, the guy who did the fab work for Morgan-McClure, I've been going back and forth with him, like the dude that originally called Dr. Gas about the X-pipe and made that stuff. He's been a big help with this. He told me that that wouldn't affect the sound, but that didn't sit right with me. I'm like, I got all 7 of these things done. The spread from the longest one to the shortest one is less than 1.5 inches. And then I got the very last one I do is 2 inches. It's not gonna fly. It's gotta be right. So I did that. I pulled one segment out of it and was able to turn on the other ones and kind of close it back up. We got it. You see, it gets kind of hairy whenever you're trying to make it out of cut up used pipe garbage, but works pretty good. So this is, yeah, this is the old measurement. I gotta cut that out. See, now it should be about 31.5 if my measurements are correct. 30 3/4 or something. I don't know, whatever it was shorter than number 7, which is the longest one on the spectrum. The whole goal is to take the outliers and bring them in to have the tightest packed difference. Even though I was told it won't make a difference in the sound, we are not leaving any stones unturned. Because what I want to do with this is we can slide off the tri-Y collectors, we could slide on a 4-to-1, we can test how far, like having a 4-to-1 right at the end of the primaries and then having 16 inches of straight tube for the X, and we can test adding length to the primaries, like sliding on like a really long 4-to-1 collector, if you could picture that, so that the collector, they all converge right before the X, and the primaries are just 16 inches longer, but they're still divided. It'll be very interesting sound comparison, and we will be able to do that with this because they'll all be within that equalness there. So I could slide on another 2 1/4 like IOD or whatever. You know what I mean? Slide it on and then whatever. If you can't picture that, whatever, you'll just see it when we do it. But I think you're vibing with this. So let's throw this thing in here. They get this fit in here, get everything kind of mocked back up, and then we'll roll the Fronius Magic Wave TIG machine over here and tack all of the primaries to the flange. Kind of orient them. We'll get everything mocked up both sides just to make sure they're good, because right now I only got 2 pipes over there because they always like to fall out. So we'll get them all in there, make sure they're all good, and we'll finish weld them all and then tack weld them to the flange. We'll be good. Like, we're gonna hear this thing pretty soon here. You're gonna get to hear it in a few minutes, but I'm gonna get to hear it in a couple days. Also, we have these hats back in stock on staplesandautoworks.com, along with the black, along with the Flex Fit OG logo hats, so check that out. Time to finish weld, which means we gotta pull all the primaries out. I'm gonna start with this one first because this is the harder side. I don't know why, this is kind of how I do that. I'm gonna finish weld the first pipe I made, and then, you know, go in order kind of to the last one. Don't know why, but I haven't sat down and TIG welded stainless tube like this in almost 3 years now. So I'll be a little rusty, I'm sure. And I've never done it with this Fronius machine. I was doing it with my old welder. So that's another reason to start on the header that you can't see very well. Big brain stuff. And then I'll have everything figured out to do better on the one that you can see clear as day, even though most of the welding is going to be done on the old ugly pipes from the original cut-up header. Whatever. Doesn't matter. It's going to sound cool, we hope. Doing some more welding today. I got my makeshift back purging rig set up here. I did not back purge the first primary and half of the second one, because I didn't think I'd need to, but with this Fronius, and now that I got this Furic cup here, I can use more heat without burning the stainless out of the stainless, which means now the weld's fully penetrated. Where I've done some other stainless tube stuff before, and when I have my cheap welder and the regular gas lens in it, if I made it hot enough to go all the way through the tube, it was gray. It couldn't work. So I welded to low amperage. Well, now I can do the whole thing, and it was, you know, getting all the sugar and looks like black broccoli on the inside. I'll show it to you on the other one. So it also makes the weld bead better because the crud's not coming up from the backside and making the puddle wander. I don't know. If you don't understand my terminology, I'm sorry, but you'll be able to see the difference when we're done here. I just got a hose. I didn't have a second bottle of back purge either. Went and got one, and, you know, jammed it in some foil, taped it up. We got it filling up now, and I got some new gloves in, which old former hockey player tip. I used to break my hockey gloves in by getting them wet and putting them on because it would kind of stretch the leather out. So I got these ones wet and stretched them out, and then I put them out in the sun so they would shrink, and then I'd do it again so it gets really form-fitted to your hand. Because when you're trying to feed the TIG rod, it's, you know, with big bulky gloves, it doesn't work that well. It's aggravating. This is just straight up not a pretty process. This has not been a particularly entertaining video to edit, just because this is like just a bunch of nonsense. It just, you know, oh no, my tungsten's cruddy looking, I'm gonna clean it now, and it takes more time, and you just gotta do 80 million stupid little things to make even half a step. It is just so time consuming and so tedious that it's really difficult to make an entertaining video out of, and I hope you're not bored to death. I hope you're learning something. That's really the goal of this, and to show you how much work actually goes into this stuff when you see it on a car. these things welded up. I feel like I'm welding forever. Came out pretty good. I didn't wipe out the inside of the tube, so some of this older header tube had this like weird gray blowout. Don't really know why, but get them bolted up. And I'm also gonna have to weld them O2 sensor bung to the collector. But all right, moment of truth. This will be the back-to-back jack stand fire up comparison test of what this thing sounds like running for 15 seconds with a quick rev versus what it sounded like before with the old headers. I am nervous because if it sounds the same, I wasted a lot of time, but I really don't think it's gonna sound the same. And we're gonna find out what it sounds like out on the road too later, but right now we just have these, you know, on there with the jack stands holding them up. I'm not gonna run it like this. End up making tailpipes that are, you know, fastened and hung properly just out of the oval straight section. It won't have boom tube ends for now, but so it'll be more like an IROC car. But the IROC cars, they have that sound too, and they don't run boom tubes. They just have oval pipes with the right X pipe. And Logan is visiting her family right now, but I have my phone filming from over there, right where she was sitting last time, so we can compare both of the sound clips from about the same spot. So this is starter wires, alternator, oil dipstick. I put that all back on, so we're good to go. Phone videos did a better job picking up the audio differences than the GoPro did, because for both of them I held the GoPro like right down here, and I think it was so close to it that the way the sound is captured by GoPro, if it's really peaky, it'll even that out. Like if you put a GoPro on the outside of a car and drive, it'll like block out the wind noise and let this louder sound overpower it. So like to overpower, if there's a sound type that overpowers something else, it will just prioritize the louder one. But on the phone audio, there's a distinct difference in the sound. The equal length headers do not have that raspy downtone, or just raspiness in general, especially the downtone. That's how you can tell the primary difference between the two. When you stop revving the equal length ones, it just is flat. Where the Speed Engineering headers out of the box, they got that real clappy, raspy sound coming back down. I'll play the phone clips now so you can hear those, and let me know what you think. It's gonna sound way different out on the road, or even on the dyno, which we're pretty pumped about, because we have audio footage to compare with the old exhaust. So the next video after make some tailpipes, because we're not gonna run it with the McClure setup on there. Don't want to risk ruining it. Gotta make that. Then we'll get on the road and do some like legitimate sound nerd audio testing from different ways and go from there. If you like to make cool noises too, you can find our boom tube shirt at StaplestonAutoworks.com. And this is actually, well, I don't know, how well can you even see it? Is that better?
Yeah, it's a lot better.
I suck at these. Yep.
It's a cool shirt.
This whole video took like a month to film. If you notice while watching it, my hair gets longer because it started filming in the beginning of June and it's now the middle of July. That's how long it took to do this.
But it's not because you just like are like dumb.
Yeah.
We've been doing a lot of stuff, and this is like your like free time in the shop doing this.
Whenever we're not doing other videos, like how many we've done, the Rusty Wallace, Morgan-McClure, Lake Speed, all that stuff happened during the course of this. So it's like we do that, and then, you know, a couple days a week we're gonna get in here and work on some headers for a little bit. It's like, it's this really time-consuming process. When do we get to see your new car?
Whenever parts start showing up. I'm not gonna like post what the car is and like the first video and then not have follow-up videos ready, because it's kind of dumb to introduce a car and then like wait, you know, 3 weeks to post an update. So gonna fix a few things on it, so we have a few videos to post on it.
Yep. People say in the comments, oh, the history stuff's cool, but do you still build stuff? When I'm just like, yeah, we've been spending more time working on stuff recently than we ever have been. It's just you haven't seen it yet because it has to have a start and finish. Like, you can't make this header build like, here's a 20-minute video on one primary. It doesn't work like that. It has to have a start and a finish. So here's your finish, and we'll start and finish another video after that. I don't know. It's just a lot, but we're juggling it all and making it happen, and we're glad you're here for it. If you have any friends that are like sound nerds or might think this is interesting, send it to them, because these types of videos don't really get shown to people by the system, so we kind of rely on like-minded people to pass it along. So